Okay, hello everyone. I'm going to do this video. It's going to be a video on the FAI PDP player development plan. Um, it was brought in a few years ago. I'm just going to give it a wee review on based on my experience of it. I started out coaching just before this came in, rather give or take a year or two. So it was in development as I started out coaching. It was basically brought in to change the culture of Irish football, how it was played, and how we develop players in this country. And it was brought in also to just help play, create better players, basically for our leagues, whether it's junior or professional, or create better players. And this PDF, from what I remember being told, was models. It was based on models from Germany and Spain and Belgium and Holland. So it was taken, as we know about them countries, they have they have awesome production lines of players like Hazard from Belgium and Memphis Depay in Holland. Just to name one or two, like you know. So as I started as a coach, all this as I going through my coach education. I embraced these new changes. It was new information, so it was probably easier for me to adapt to than maybe someone that was coaching for the last 20 or 30 years. Um, but we're 6 or 7 years now into this PDP, and I do see great players coming out of great players through clubs directly because of this. Um, we started like we started at the very beginning, like under sixes, under sevens. They're playing on pitches so small, playing four side at under six and under sevens, no goalkeepers, jumpers for goalposts or cones or poles, whatever. Just, the idea is just to get them or super, a supervised and organised game. That would be marked out by cones and stuff like that. No goalkeepers. Basically, the ball goes wide or goes in the goal to pick the ball up. Defender picks the ball up and he's encouraged to dribble. So that's all you're ever going to do with these kids at that age is encourage them to dribble the ball and take shots, get the shots off from realistic spots. So they'll know themselves. They want to get as close as they can to the goal to take the shots. So, and again, you could have, depending on the size of your little squad of under sixes and under eights, you could have dozens of these wee pitches dotted around in your club's facilities. So, allowing there should be no reason why every player that you're directly involved with shouldn't be involved in some shape or form. Shouldn't be no subs. Shouldn't be no referees. Parents just let them play. They'll let the important thing to remember is that football is the teacher for these kids at this age. They'll learn by playing themselves. Nothing that you say or do for them will help them any quicker. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But football will outdo you and teach them more. So encourage them to try things, their little skills, flicks, trick overs, dribbling, passing. Let them try everything. With no boundaries. Well, boundaries within the game at least. So they're learning under six and under seven. They're learning the game. They're having fun, and that ultimately what it should be is fun. When you start out as a coach, your tutor in your education is. I know mine's did. When you're with a club, you're ultimately thinking about your senior team. So you're developing your players for your senior team. Okay, some of these players might go on to bigger and better things depending on how well they develop. So that looks well in you and your club. So, but at the end of the day, it's all about the kid and their progression and their development. So whatever you've done, you've just helped you. If you stick to the principles of guiding them as a player rather than dictating how they play or should play, if you just guide them, you're doing your job perfectly. Again, football's the teacher. They'll learn through the game of football. All they need is your guidance and on maybe how to do things differently. Not so much better, but differently. They'll always try kid will always try to be better for himself. He's motivated enough to try to be different, to try to be better than his teammate, to try to be better than his opposition. That's just the nature of the beast. You can't take out that competitiveness of anybody at any age. So at under 8s, we're playing 5-a-side now. So we went to choose goalkeepers, and just like in the under 6s and 7s, there was a retreat line. So again, this wee video maybe is for maybe coaches that are getting into the game for the first time and want to see how it's going, and maybe again this is just my perspective of how this is, and again, football is an opinionated game, so no opinion is right or no opinion is wrong in my view. So how you perceive the game and what you intend to do with the game, you're always going to teach the game how you see it to the kids that you're involved with. So when you're always going to learn, you step onto the pitch for the first time, what you know, you have to get it out onto the kids, out to the pitch, get them to do it on the pitch. But that's useless. Let the game teach you. The game and the kids that you're dealing with will teach you everything you need to know about what needs to be done going forward in the future. So the chances are, if you're starting out for the first time in under 16, you could be with these kids, or you'll be involved in coaching them for the next 10 years until they reach this senior level or under 18 level. Provided that most of them are still about, if they haven't moved on to higher level teams, or God willing, maybe want to make their dream and head across water. But ideally, the PDP is not for that. The PDP is about making Irish football better, not English football better. But ultimately, the goal for these kids when they start out, they want to be Messi, they want to be Ronaldo, they want to be Harry Kane, they want to be Virgil van Dijk, they want to be Mo Salah. So you work, you help them strive out these dreams rather than break down. When they start off playing football, they have little goals, so they don't understand goal setting, so you create the goal setting for them. We break them down to the simple parts. So what we're doing here is 5v5 under 8s and under 9s. So we've got a goalkeeper, there's a retreat line, ball goes out or in goal, game restarts by keeper rolling the ball out to his defender. Keeper or defender has the choice to dribble the ball out or play it to the next available player. Now, don't encourage dribbling out. He's going to learn soon enough if he's able to beat his man. So after about the second or third time he's not beating his the opposition player, he's going to become reserved and he's going to pass it on. So this is him learning. This is the process of him learning, or her learning. I should say. Girls football in this country is getting bigger and bigger by the day. So again, all supervisory. There are a few more things to be added in here. Now, for me, what I'd be doing is I'm starting to look at formations. I'm starting to learn about my players here. Who's the defenders? Who's the attackers? Who's defend minded? Who's attack minded? Encourage your defenders to get forward to join the attack, but also just keep reminding that the responsibility is to defend. So if one goes, one stays, or and sometimes the first line of defense is your attackers. So that's got to be instilled there. But the attackers tend to be greedy, so they're not going to. They're going to munch around here. They're going to hang about here, waiting for the threat, waiting for their opportunity to come. Not all the strikers will track back and defend, but that's okay. You don't discourage that because that's an instinctive thing. Football should be based on your instincts. Again, it's guidance that helps us. Again, we're thinking about the senior team here. So we're teaching about positions. We're teaching at the under 8s and under 9s at 5-a-side. We're trying to teach positions. We're trying to teach how to play together, how to move forward together, and how to move back together. So this, these are the type of scenarios that you'd expect to happen for your team. It's not always going to work that way for you, but perseverance and repetition will work it that way. So now we're going to go. Again, it's all fun, inclusive and fun. 5-a-side, again, there's going to be multiple pitches, so there's going to be every child's going to be learning the same game of football in his or her own way. So we're going to go to under 10 football now. So we've got an additional 2 more players, whereas we had only 1 additional player in the last time from 7s up to 8s, which was goalkeepers. So we're starting to look more like football teams now. So we've got 2 additional players on each team. Yeah, bear with me. So we've got 2 additional players. So do you go 3 at the back for the Blues here? 2 in midfield and 1 striker. At the end of the day, you're building into an ultimate formation. A favourable formation with the FAI in this PDP is 4-3-3. So ideally, to me, you're only ever going to have a formation that suits the players you have, or if you're lucky enough that you have the players that you could work with 2 or 3 formations, depending on your opposition. All well and good, but ultimately we're looking at we are starting to look at formations, and it's starting to look more like a football team now. So do you have 2 strikers for the Reds here, 1 midfielder and three defenders? So again, now you can start to get clever with your team. You've gone through the process of under 6s, under 7s, under 8s, and under 9s. So they've all learned about dribbling, and they've all learned about attacking the ball, attacking the goal, working together as a team. Again, having fun. If they're still playing at this stage, you're doing it well. They're having fun. So what you can start to look at now is encouraging these guys here maybe to get forward and join the attack. Because remember when they started playing under 8 football, it was 4-side. So we're working together in attack. We're going to try and score a goal as a 4 against potentially a 4 or a 5. So this is where the difficulty comes in, because there might be an extra player. But here's the 4 here in attack, looking to score a goal. Okay, we've got a 5 here now as well. So the principle is we're learning to play together. We're learning to score goals together, and also more importantly, if you want to win a game, you got to defend well. So we're learning to defend together. So the 2 additional players allows you to start thinking about your senior team, start thinking about these players' developments, start thinking about the next year. Some of these guys could be moving up to under 12 football, so these guys are going to be tuned in. They're going to be, you need to be guiding them towards the idea that if you're in the back line, if you're a ball playing defender, you can get forward, but more importantly, get back. Whereas these guys here, some coaches, I like this one myself personally. You can have 4. We'll leave that alone. We'll work with the Reds here. These guys could end up being wingers, wing forwards, or right midfield, depending on or left midfield, depending on what formation you played in the line. But what you're teaching these guys in the back line is they can join the attack at any time, with or without the ball. But their first priority should be defending. So you're encouraging them to get forward and to get involved with the play going forward. But their first response is if the ball breaks down, this is where they need to be right away. Get back, get defending, get protecting your goalkeeper. So all this type of information, depending on how you see the game. I might not be getting this out straight because I'm not on the football pitch, but this is how I see. This is what I'd be typically doing with my under 10 team. Getting these guys involved, getting the numbers up forward, but priority is to defend. Priorities to attack when you're in possession. Priorities defend and win the ball back when it's broken down and the other team's on the attack. So again, this should be all fun and inclusive, but you're starting to get more positionally aware, and you're not talking about formation with them. You're just getting them. You're the centre back, you're the full back, you're the centre midfielder, you're the striker. These kids are going to know the terminology. They're going to have terminology for you. He's the CDM. They know this from FIFA. He's the CAM. They know this from FIFA. He's the ST striker. They know this from FIFA. They might know it from watching Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville on Sky Sports. They'll know it from FIFA. This is where they're learning this stuff from. This type of information. So don't be afraid to talk to them about it and use their terminology, because using your terminology, they're not interested. Use their terminology. Engage with them. Relate how they're interested. Don't make it yours. Make it theirs. Because at the end of the day, it's their game. It's their team. It's you. It's your game. They want. You want them to play your game, but you want them to play your game, but you gotta let them play their game in order to get your game out of them. So you can just guide each one of these players and what they should be doing. So you are talking about positional awareness. You are talking about job descriptions on the pitch, but don't overwhelm them with it. Don't say he should. If he doesn't do it, don't tell me he should have been doing it. Just say, could you have done that? Open up the question. Let him answer it for you. Let him ask himself, should he have done that? Should he have done this? Or not even should, just say, you could have done this or you could have done that. Any coach educator will say the same thing too. So now that's under 10s and unders at 7-a-side dealt with. Again, I think this is a brilliant model to go by because it is working. I've seen great players coming out of my own club and other clubs where I'm working at. I remember playing under 10s years ago, maybe under 11s. It was 11-a-side. It was absolute chaos. Half the kids on the pitch weren't learning nothing. It was always get the ball to the best players. Whereas this model here allows you to have 7 best players on the pitch at one time. You know what I mean? Because they've all learned the same thing. They're all come through the same path, done the same thing, and got the same type of confidence, and most of all, got the same type of trust in each other. So now we're going to go into under 12s, which is 9-a-side football. Now this is one step closer to getting to 11-a-side football, getting to the all-important where it starts to get serious. But don't be mistaken, these kids are taking this seriously. So we'll go 3 there. 2 players at it there. So 9-a-side, 2 more here. There we go. Too many. Right. We've got 9-a-side, 9v9. Now, you can start looking at having a back 4. Position these guys. It's again, from under 10s where it was 7v7, it's 2 extra players, so you're not overwhelming. You're not overwhelmed. The pitch is bigger. There's more space, so these guys are going to be a little bit more intimidating. You know, this is why it makes sense to go up on the stages that we're going in, from under 7v7 at under 10 to 9v9. The pitch gets slightly bigger. You can only probably have you're basically going from 18 yard to 18 yard on a full size pitch, or 6 yard box to 6 yard box. You know what I mean? Depending, I know different leagues do it different ways, but the pitch gets bigger. So like, some of these kids could be skillful enough; they could actually go up to an under 14 team. But they're going to be overwhelmed by the size of the pitch and by the size of the goals, and probably the size of their opponents. So it's probably wiser to probably keep these kids at just one level. We'll take a look at 3 at the back and then 3 in the midfield. Dot these around this. Excuse me. So we got 4 at the back. So what? Based on a formation model at under 10s, I'll be looking again. I'm looking for my fullbacks at under 10s to be join the attack, priority defence. So these guys have already learned this. So you know, you could nearly leave these guys up here, maybe get this guy dropping back, or either one of these 2 guys at a time, or even one at a time. So again, it's guidance into doing it the way you see it. So these join the attack, priority defence. So if these 2 guys are way forward, there's always going to be one kid in the team that's mad to be the CDM, as they would refer to FIFA. So that you're well covered here. And as long as these guys are as long as it's run into them, or enough information that when the ball breaks down, my priority is to get back. Let's lock the shop, lock the house, protect ourselves. So this guy's a greedy little guy. He's a striker. He wants to get all the credit for scoring all the goals. He's going to stay up there. And don't forget, offsides is coming into this as well. So you're going to be teaching him how to keep a line, or to stay on side and beat the line. So this is like more fundamentals than what you teach them. So this is why it's important to go. In my opinion, in my mind, go 2 at a time from under 6s right up to this age group right now, because There's so much there. And if you break the game down, so you look at the game, where have we got to so far, and where have we come from? So where have we come from? Under sixes and under sevens, what we're looking at is having fun, dribbling the ball, getting shots, scoring goals. And that's the nature of the game, scoring goals. So, and then under tens, under eights, excuse me, we've added in goalkeepers. So we're showing the responsibility of protecting the goal, but stopping the opposition from scoring more goals. So that, like, I know anybody listening to this is not going. We all know this, but the importance of this PDP is that the game's broken down into small bits. When they get to under 12s, although these guys are very smart, they're very intelligent, they know there's still things to learn. There's still parts of the game to learn. Like, for instance, offsides come into the equation here at this age group. So these guys need to learn offsides. The striker needs to learn how to beat an offside trap. And the defenders need to learn how to keep a line. So somebody needs to learn how to take charge here. You're going to learn your leader in the back line, whether it be your goalkeeper or your centre back or even your full back. Then, we're going to probably put a wee bit more emphasis in when it comes to training stuff like that at this age group. You're going to put a wee bit more emphasis on standing tackles, and I know in Scotland they've banned heading the ball, but these kids are going to head the ball if it's in the air. You can't stop that. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody else will have that for debate. But by having this age group at 11 aside, it's just too much for too many kids. This is they've already come through a process where they've already learned dribbling. They're in the grasps of learning passing, how to beat men with a pass, how to get around men with a pass, how to beat. There's even still learning the concept of dribbling in certain areas. Some kids are brave enough to dribble all day. Some kids will never be brave enough to dribble. So that's not their fault. That's not your fault as a coach. That's just the way it is. That's just the person. That's a personal trait. You can't change that. But they can learn it, but it's up to them to learn it and the environment they're in. So this is 9-a-side football. We're starting to learn about offsides. We're starting to learn about tackling. We're improving our dribbling. We're improving our passing. We're improving working together as a team. So in that respect, so we've got our striker. He's way up top. He's joined by his midfielders. Fullback has the ball here. So things we can be teaching him is how to move off the ball. Does he drop off a wee bit? This is the kind of thing. These kids are smart enough to learn these things. Can we get that ball forward? How quickly can we get that ball forward? Will we get a crossing? Simple. So this is why it's important that this age group stays at 9v9 and 7v7 stays at 10s, because their comprehension, although they're smart in their own way, but the comprehension of understanding the technicalities of football, a little bit difficult for all of them, if not some of them, to grasp. So now we're going to 11-a-side football. It's the big boys game now. So you get more players on the pitch. You've got your subs, and by going through this pathway, by going through this system, you'll have discovered who your defenders are, who can be your, can your fullback also play right back, can your fullback can also play in the right wing or left wing, can your striker's always going to be your striker. Even at under 14s, you can still too early to tell if your striker is actually your best or your defender is actually your best striker, and vice versa. But again, this starts to get a lot more competitive here because there's trophies and leagues to be won, and everybody's out. Everybody, when you're in pre-season, doesn't matter what grade of a team. When you set out the pre-season, your ambition for the year is to win something, whether it be a league or a cup. So it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to learn who you are as a team, but only coming through this wee path like this PDP is. Well, you're not going to have a bad team just simply by using the model that's here. Not necessarily going by the book, but use the model. Look at the model from your own perspective. This is 11-a-side football at under 14s. Don't forget the goals have just got bigger. Imagine sticking an under 12 and then goals. A team, if you have an under 12 goalkeeper in full size goals, the opposition are going to shoot from distance all day long. You're going to get beat by 15-0, and absolutely nobody's going to learn anything from it. So this PDP plan is working. I've taken a lot from it, and I believe my players in the club I work with are benefiting from it big time. I genuinely believe that, because it was a wee bit of guidance, I think, that every coach in the country was missing. Now some guys back in the day, they turned from playing to coaching, and they had their teams well drilled and well organised and well. So, but it was harder for other coaches, new coaches, to get that out of their players. But because of this PDP, it was a bit of guidance. It was something to go by, and step by step we were able to introduce different parts of the game at different ages, and for different sizes of pitches and team sizes. So this PDP for me is it's a genius piece of work. The football's always changing, and in the next couple of years we're probably going to see a completely different model. But at the end of the day, the footballers in Ireland are getting better. I've seen it anywhere I've went. The quality of football in this country is getting better, and I believe it's a direct consequence of this PDP and people going by it. New coaches, and the coach education in this country is pretty good too, because they stick by this, they go by it. Although I would debate that the Northern Irish coaching education is better than ours in the South, but ours is pretty good, and we're developing good players. And the National League system, I think it's working a charm as well. We're going to see good players being developed. Maybe not quite the quality of Belgium and Germany and places like that, but why not? But there's going to be a good rate of quality players coming out of this country, and hopefully they can stay in this country for as long as possible to be developed as best as they can develop themselves, and the coaches can get as much contact with them in this country, because it's a crafty little PDP this, and it's well put together, and it serves a purpose. To change it for your own league, or to change it for any other way, would be absolutely ludicrous. Go with the plan that's put out for us. It's working well. It's going to take time for us to see the fruit. Just let the fruit let's let the fruit ripen from the tree we've developed. Don't tear it down now, because it hasn't fully grown yet. It's a good model, and long may it continue. Thanks for listening, and I hope this is my opinion, and I'm not. This is my opinion, and it's not right. It's the way I do. It's the way I would see it. If there's any new coaches or young players watching this, I hope I can make things clear for you. Other coaches and other players and other people are always going to have different opinions. This is just mine. This is just one of mine. And I hope it's helpful to somebody. Thanks for listening.